the eater of children, the Aswang. When my wife and daughter lived in the Philippines, they lived in a small city called Cabancalan on the island of Negros Occidental. During this time, they had an encounter with an Aswang. This is my wife's story. After my daughter was born, I was running a small restaurant in Cabancalan. We served traditional Filipino foods, snacks, alcohol, and we also had a karaoke machine, which was our biggest draw. One night, after closing, it was about 1 a.m. in the morning, and my younger sister was sound asleep. I climbed into bed exhausted from the cooking, cleaning, and serving customers all night. I was looking forward to going to sleep. I'd laid down next to my daughter. She was sleeping soundly, and her breathing was soft. After cuddling up next to her, I started to hear something. There was a strange sound coming from the roof of the restaurant. It sounded like someone was on the roof. The roof of the restaurant was at least 15 meters high from the ground, and it would have been hard for anyone to get up on the roof. I held my breath. There was silence all around, except for the footsteps. I could hear the footsteps moving from the edge of the roof, and they were slowly lumbering towards the spot above my bed. Suddenly they stopped for a moment, but only for a moment. The nipa leaves that thatched the roof started to rustle like they were being pulled apart, almost like someone was trying to make a hole in the roof. I yelled for my sister to wake up, and she rolled over still asleep. I sprang out of bed and shook her violently until she woke up. She asked what I was doing and to let her go back to sleep. I screamed at her, "There is an Aswang on the roof. It is after Sarah." Her eyes shot open and they looked at me in fear. We ran to the back door and grabbed anything we could find as a weapon. As my hand reached for the handle, then I heard it. Thump! The Aswang had jumped off the roof and landed near the back door. I hesitated for a moment before ripping the door open, and then I saw it. There was a large black dog with glowing red eyes staring at us, its tongue wagging back and forth. Its tongue almost reached the ground. We started yelling at the Aswang and charged at it, trying to attack it. The beast leapt over the back fence, which had to be at least 2 meters high, and the beast disappeared into the night. We all went back inside, scared out of our wits. We had seen the Aswang, and luckily for us, we had survived. Somehow we managed to get back to sleep, but when we awoke in the morning, we felt exhausted and tired from the restless night's sleep. I was speaking to my neighbours, and I'd asked them if they'd seen or heard the Aswang in the night. They told me during the night, another small child, just down from us, had passed away, and their parents had believed it was because of an Aswang. Without asking any more questions, I told my sister to take my daughter up into the mountains so she could stay with her grandparents for a while until the Aswang had either been scared away or killed. That night, we did not hear the Aswang on the roof. We had taken away its reason for being there. My daughter. For those of you who have not heard of an Aswang before, it is truly one of the most disturbing Filipino folk tales. The Aswang takes the shape of an old woman. She looks sickly and has grey matted hair that sticks out everywhere. Long sharp fingernails, breath that smells like rotten flesh, and her eyes are red like blood. Aswangs have been known to shapeshift into bats, birds, dogs, or even rats. In all of the Philippines, every Filipino knows of the Aswang and what her favourite food is. Young children, especially unborn babies. The Aswang uses her long tongue to squeeze through the cracks in the walls, the floor, the roof. Their tongues then seek out children or pregnant women and feast upon their prey. If you are ever in the Philippines, ensure that you watch your children closely, especially at night. Otherwise, the Aswang will have her next meal. Story 2. Yandere, a sad tale of regret and horror. Our fateful meeting scarred me forever. Yandere is a Japanese term meaning a recessive girl or boy in a relationship. A yandere's love is so strong it drives a woman to extremes for the ones that she loves. This is my story of Miku, the Yandere. I was always an introvert and I struggled to connect with people. A good book was more relatable than other people to me. A few months ago, I was reading under a pine tree. The smell of pine and the sound of wind through the needles was peaceful. I was lost in words, and a small sound broke me out of my trance. Excuse me. Excuse me. Raising my head from the page, I saw an angel standing there, her obsidian hair covering her face ever so slightly. Her eyes were almond-shaped, with deep, dark brown eyes. She was smiling at me. It was a magic smile, and my heart was fluttering as she spoke. "What are you reading?" I replied, "I'm reading a Japanese manga." We talked for an hour about Japanese culture, and finally she told me her name. My name is Miku. Her name rang in my ears. It was lovely. We exchanged numbers and we bid each other goodbye. Miku said that she would text me later. We started texting and soon Miku asked if she could come to see my library. I was nervous. Why is a beautiful woman wanting to come to my place? I gave Miku my address and 1 hour later she was at my house. I showed her my home and we ended up in my bedroom. My room has all the books. We sat on my bed and it seemed that she was not interested in my books anymore. Miku leaned forward and kissed me. I was shocked. I'm not very attractive and this beautiful woman is kissing me. I went with it and we made love in my room. When we were finished, Miku said, "I love you." I was stunned. I met this woman a few hours ago and she is already professing her love for me. I mumbled, "Thank you," and held her close and closed my eyes and fell asleep. I woke up a few hours later and I knew something was wrong. Very, very wrong. There was something heavy on top of my waist and my chest hurt. Opening my eyes, I saw a blurry shape sitting on me. It took me a moment to recognize what it was. It was Miku. She was naked, her breasts rising and falling as she was breathing. My chest was stinging. I tried to reach my hand up to touch it, but my hand would not move. It was stuck to something. I realized it was taped to the bed. I wanted to look at my chest, but I could not move my head either. Then I realized I had duct tape across my forehead, pinning me to the bed. I was about to scream at Miku, then I saw it. A long knife. Its silver blade caught the light and flashed angrily at me. There was a crimson smear along the edge. Then I realized it was blood. It was my blood. Miku's eyes looked like they had no emotion. The look of love and caring as we made love was now gone. It scared me. I could feel a whimper escape my lips. "Miku, why?" Her voice was full of rage and she shrieked, "Thank you! Thank you! You do not love me? You do not love me? You are just like the rest. You will throw me away like the others." Looking at Miku, I realized that she had cut herself. Not just cut herself, but carved the word Mike across her breasts. "See, you own me now. Your name is on my body, and now you will be mine forever." I felt the knife starting to cut into my chest, and the warmth of blood started to flow down my body. Even though I was in pain, I knew she was carving Miku into my body. My mind screamed at me, "I'm going to die here. There is nothing that I could do." She was branding me. I do not know how long she cut into my body. It seemed like forever. The pain hurt so much. But what came next scared me even more than the branding. Miku laid on top of me, grinding our wounds together. Tearing the skin apart even further, I gritted my teeth, and I promised I would not scream. Miku whispered in my ear seductively, "My blood is in you now, and yours is in me. We will never be parted, my love, never ever again. I love you." I wanted to scream at her to go away, to leave me alone, but all I could do was meekly whisper, "I love you too, with all my heart." She squealed like a girl, and then started to smile as she did earlier. Suddenly the smile faded, and with venom in her voice, Miku said something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. "Make sure you are a good boy, and I will not hurt you again. I will always be watching you." I passed out from the pain. I do not know how long I was asleep, but when I awoke, the bindings and Miku were gone. My sheets were red with blood, my chest swollen and irritated. I went to the mirror, and the sight of the man I saw I did not recognize. It looked like me, but it wasn't me at the same time. The man looked sickly white colour, with sunken eyes, the brightness gone. There was blood all over my chest, stomach, groin and legs, and in the centre of my chest was the name, Miku. I stumbled back to my room to get my phone. I unlocked the screen, and there was a picture. The picture was of Miku, sitting on me, blood all over my body, and she had that damned knife pressing against my neck. Miku was sneering into the camera, like she was taunting me to call someone. The phone, it fell from my hand, hitting the floor with a loud bang, and then a voice came from behind me. "Who are you calling, my love? Hopefully not another girl." Those words cut me deep as the wound on my chest. I spoke barely in a whisper. "No one, Miku. There is no other girls but you." In a joyful voice, like she was joking, Miku said, "That's good, my love. I would hate to kill them, like the others." "Others? What others?" I wanted to yell. But I composed myself, and I turned to look at her. I was expecting to see a demon standing there in front of me, but it wasn't. Miku was smiling at me with such a sweet smile. I mustered my courage and took a step forward, placing my arms around her and pulling her close. Miku wrapped her arms around me in a loving embrace. It was so warm and loving, but I knew what I had to do. I pulled back from the embrace and looked Miku deep in the eyes and whispered, "I love you, Miku. I am sorry." My hand shut up quickly and wrapped around Miku's throat and started squeezing. Her eyes opened wide in surprise, and she started choking for air. All I could hear was her staggered breath, struggling to say, "Love, love." She clawed at my hands, and when that didn't work, I felt her long nails tear at my face and eyes. I knew if I stopped squeezing, Miku would kill me. Finally, her bloodshot eyes gave me one last cursing glare, and her arms fell by her body as she went limp. I still kept squeezing. I was afraid to let go, and that she would come back and attack me once again. After what seemed like an eternity, I loosened my grip, and Miku fell to the floor. Tears started running down my face. What had I done? Why did Miku do this? After the police investigation, I was charged with manslaughter and placed in an institution for 5 years. During this time, I underwent rehabilitation, but Miku had broken something inside me, and I would never, ever be the same again. There was a scar across my chest, and I would see her name every day as a bitter reminder that Miku was always watching me. Throughout my time in the institution, Miku's parents contacted me, and we arranged a meeting. I did not know what they expected of me. Miku's parents were remorseful, and they apologized to me about what their daughter had done. They knew about Miku's mental condition, and they kept her locked up in the house to keep her away from society. It turns out that on the day that I met her, she'd managed to escape her parents' house, and I was the unlucky person she met. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed these dark tales. Remember to like and subscribe. If you want to hear more dark tales, please comment below. And remember, you should always watch what's in the dark.